Hey everyone, SweetJohnnyCage here, back with another guide for Final Fantasy VII Remake. This time I'm going to show you how to complete the game's final VR mission, 3-person team versus top secrets. In order to unlock this final VR mission, you need to complete all of Don Corneo's Battle Arena missions in Wall Market, and then all the other VR missions for Shinra. Once you do that, you'll gain access to this one. Top Secrets is a 5-battle VR mission against most of the summons in the game. So you have to fight Shiva, then Fat Chocobo, then Leviathan, followed by Bahamut and Ifrit at the same time, and then finally the Pride and Joy prototype, which is a new boss for this encounter. This video is broken down into 3 sections. First, I'll show you the materia and equipment loadouts that I use for Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith. Then I'll show you the upgrade paths I use in each of their weapons, and then finally will be the combat encounters themselves. If you want to skip to a specific part, please check the video description below for timestamps for all of these sections, including individual timestamps for the 5 different battle encounters. So without further ado, let's get started. For the weapon loadouts, we'll start with Cloud. He has the Hard Edge, Chain Bangle, and Power Wrist Guards. He has the Time, HP Up, Elemental linked with Fire, and then Revival, HP Up, Bahamut for the Summon, First Strike, HP Up, Ice, linked with Elemental on the armor. This is very important for Shiva. Shiva can kind of end the battle very quickly, so you want to make sure you can survive Diamond Dust. For Tifa, she has Metal Knuckles, Cog Bangle, and Supernatural Wrist Guards. And she has an HP Up, Revival, ATB Boost, Healing, Auto Cure. Fat Chocobo is her summon. Cleansing, Lightning, and Barrier. With Aerith, she has the Mithril Rod, Cog Bangle, and the Healing Carcanet. The Magnify Materia, linked with Healing, very important. MP Up, Magic Up, Shiva as her summon, HP Up again, and then Assess. I'm bringing Assess for a very specific reason, and that is the final boss of this VR mission is only encounterable here, so I want to assess him while I'm here. Otherwise, you gotta do the whole thing over again. In case you're looking for the Healing Carcanet accessory, you can find that in Chapter 13 when you're going around with Barret. It is behind a destructible wall inside of a chest. Now you may be thinking to yourself, yeah, of course we need the Healing Carcanet, it makes your heals more powerful. But that's not all it does. When you're playing on hard mode, and in this VR mission specifically, since you have to play on hard mode, you cannot use items. So you need to be very mindful of your MP consumption. If you're using the Healing Carcanet, your Cure spell effectively has the same power as Cura, and then Cura has the same power as Curaga. So it allows you to use less MP while still getting the same amount of healing. Between fights, you will gain half your HP and MP back, so this allows you to just spend less MP than you would, and you can save it for the end. With the loadouts out of the way, let's get into the weapon upgrades. For Cloud, we're going to use the Hard Edge, so I'll show you where I had him leveled up with the Hard Edge. I'm not going to get into each of the orbs, but you could just pause it on each of the cores, and then you can see what I did. I did have to play the first few chapters on hard mode. I think I did the first 3 chapters before trying this the first time. So I did all of the side quests in Sector 7 the first time. So I was able to get a few more upgrade points for everybody that way. With the exception of Aerith, I don't think she gets any in the first few chapters. But if you notice that you're short on points and they don't match mine, that's okay. I actually did it with a little bit less the first time. But some quick wins are going back to, I believe, Chapter 3 for the Sector 7 side quests, and then I believe Chapter 6 or 7 for the Sector 5 side quests. Doing those side quests and completing those chapters on hard mode and completing the bosses will give you more and more books. Also, don't forget about the Moogle shop in the Sector 5 slums. By this stage of the game, especially if you're on hard mode, you're going after all these VR encounters, you probably have a ton of Moogle medals left over, and the vendor, Magi, I believe his name is, he has 1 book per character, so it's a quick way to gain some missed early on. So I'll show you what I have for Aerith with the Mithril Rod, and then we will get into the combat encounters here. You'll notice that I'm not using any weapons that have Reprieve on them. That is a very deliberate choice. I found that the Hard Edge, Metal Knuckles, and Mithril Rod had more power, or more valuable power, than the value of Reprieve, at least for my tastes. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the combat encounters themselves. We're going to pick our 3-party team of Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith, and get to work on Shiva. Shiva is an ice elemental, obviously, so she is weak to fire. But that also means that if you had equipped ice and elemental materials and linked them in your armor slot, her ice attacks will not deal any damage to you. So we're going to start the fight by casting Fira just once to start building her stagger gauge. You may be wondering why I'm not casting Firaga for more damage, and that's because of the MP cost. And our main objective here is to build stagger on Shiva, not necessarily damage. And Fira deals about the same amount of stagger as Firaga, so you may as well just use Fira. Once Aerith has an ATB bar full, you want to put an Arcane Ward under Cloud, and then once you're safe from the Icicle Impact, double cast Fira on Shiva, and then this will bring her down. So 1, 2, now she's down, and our job is to fill up that pressure bar as best we can. So you want to do as much stagger damage as you can. You want to use Focus Strike with Tifa, keep using Focus Thrust with Cloud. If you want, you could put a Tempest on there with Aerith, although that might take a little bit of time to start casting. But once you have her staggered, now what you want to do is you want to build up another ATB bar with Cloud and then cast Stop. And this will make it so Shiva stays staggered. She is susceptible to time magic, although it doesn't last very long. Once Stop is cast, put a full-blown Tempest on her, switch back over to Tifa, and now we want to, with Aerith, use Ray of Judgment. That deals a lot of damage. And then once we have control of Tifa again, you want to cast Star Shower, but you really want to cast True Strike first. This is a mistake I made. True Strike increases the amount of stagger percentage damage that the enemy takes, and then if you cast Star Shower after that, it will deal more damage. So you'll notice that she got down to about 15% there. Had I done it in the opposite direction or the opposite way where I did Focus Strike first and then Star Shower, probably would have gone differently. Shiva here, once she starts ice skating around, that means she's going to cast Diamond Dust. What you want to do if you have ATB, cast or double cast Fire, because those Icicle Familiars or those Frost Familiars will heal her if they are not used up. So you want to just double cast Fire. One fire attack will move them away, otherwise she is just immune to damage. So Diamond Dust here is going to drop Tifa. So what we want to do is go to Cloud and raise Tifa. What I did notice, and this was actually an unintentional kind of thing that happened, was that I actually finished the Shiva fight and one of my characters was dead. Although I did get a raise off, I think. I'm not 100% sure if the raise actually cast or if the person just stood up. I believe it was Tifa, but we'll see here in a minute. I am avoiding all of this with Cloud, although chances are I really probably don't even need to. But that's just what I'm doing. So Heavenly Strike, obviously really deadly, especially if you get caught in the Ice Trail that puts you to sleep. That can basically spell certain death for any character who's put to sleep. The Whiteout ability can put you to sleep, so just keep that in mind. So we're going to raise Aerith once again, but now Tifa is going to get slept, and then Heavenly Strike is going to do some serious damage to her, but it's okay. Shiva is basically dead at this point, so Cloud was immune to those strikes, so that's okay. Yeah, if you see there, I'm not sure if the raise actually happened or if Tifa just woke up, so I'm not really sure how that worked. In any event, we're moving on now to Fat Chocobo. Fat Chocobo is basically a gimme. He is really, really easy. Chances are you're going to be able to kill him before he even casts his Limit Break, or his final ability, whatever you want to call them. The main objective here, just like with Shiva, is to build as much stagger as possible. So you want to just keep using Unbridled Strength, use Rise and Fall, Omni Strike, Rising Uppercut. Just keep spamming those moves over and over. If you can manage to move Fat Chocobo around, his pressure meter will get exposed, so you can deal more and more stagger damage to him. When he starts rolling around, you just want to do your best to block with whatever character you're controlling, and then just resume the attacks. Throughout the fight, the Moogle, or the Mog as they are in this game, will start sort of summoning other creatures. So they can summon Tonberries, and then they can also summon bombs. The quickest way to deal with these guys is to just use AoE attacks. So if you're using Cloud and there's a Tonberry near you, just use Triple Strike. Or Triple Slash, and it's just going to kill it right away if you're using Tifa, and the other enemy is near the boss. Just use Star Shower, it'll kill it no problem. You're going to notice that towards the end of this fight, I actually have a bunch of these enemies up, and I don't ever look at them, and that's because my AoE attacks are just going to do all the work for me. So as you can see, we're just mashing a triangle with Tifa. She's going to keep getting the focus meter up. We're going to use Focus Thrust with Cloud, and then the stagger bar is about to get filled here. So we just gotta keep building. A couple more hits and we'll get it. There's a bomb over here. I did want to take care of it, only because With the boss so close to stagger, I want to make sure that I'm able to get as much damage into this boss as possible while it is staggered. So we're going to resume on the boss, and then we are going to cast True Strike to increase the amount of stagger that we have. And then I just saw that we had a couple enemies up, so once Cloud is up, we'll have him take care of that. Cast True Strike again, and then we're going to keep switching over. And then, for some reason, I was in Punisher mode there. I don't really know why. We're going to cast Triple Strike there, or Triple Slash there, sorry. As you can see, Fat Chocobo is at about 220%. If you'd like, this is a good way to increase the stagger to 300% for that trophy. Just keep using stagger building abilities with Tifa, and eventually you'll get it. Of course, use Ray of Judgment with Aerith. That'll increase the stagger as well and deal a ton of damage, so very good idea to keep casting that. As you can see, the Moogle just dropped the Tomberry. It died before it even could move. For some reason, Carbuncle came out and gave me a shield. I'm not really sure if the boss gets confused and does that. I don't really get it. I made sure to get through this game and do all my guides without any of the paid DLC summons, or like the pre-order DLC summons, I should say. So, yeah, that Carbuncle is from the boss. It's not from me. It's great because it gave me a shield, and that's always nice, but yeah. As you can see here, like, this boss has done nothing to us. We barely ever healed, and, you know, we're just really thrashing this thing. This is kind of a gimme to let you get your HP and MP back for Leviathan, which is next. That's the real challenge here. So, yeah, just cast Ray of Judgment again with Aerith. That'll increase the boss's stagger, and then use True Strike or Chi Trap. At this point, we don't really have to worry about the stagger damage because the boss is going to die before he wakes up. Yeah, that's it. So that is Fat Chocobo. And now we're going to move on to Leviathan. Leviathan is where things start to get very tricky. The sheer amount of damage that Leviathan can put out. Shiva had the ability to kind of lock you up and kind of effectively one-shot a character if they were sleeping. But Leviathan has the ability to really combo your characters, and if they don't have enough HP, which two of mine don't, they're not going to survive Tidal Wave. For some reason, in this particular encounter with Leviathan, I'm not really sure why it was happening, but he was flying around a whole lot more than he did on previous attempts. So in the first time I did this on my stream, he kind of just sat still for the most part, and I was able to get a lot more stagger damage on him. So just keep that in mind. Unfortunately, I'm not great at staggering this boss, but you do want to do your best to build stagger on him. That's kind of the objective of these summon fights, and the reason for that is because it's just a perfect opportunity to deal a lot of bonus damage. So I'm going to spend a good deal of time on Leviathan here, and I'll do my best to kind of just provide commentary throughout. You'll see here that I'm targeting his head instead of his fin, and that is causing Cloud and Tifa to kind of jump up in the air and do aerial attacks, which you don't. If you're measuring damage over time, like sheer damage output over time, you're going to deal less damage because you have to jump and then fall, and jump and fall, and you can't really use abilities in the air either. So you want to make sure you're always targeting his dorsal fin, or one of the fins, as much as possible. When he is doing the dive attack, you want to just block it. I don't recommend going into Punisher mode or even counter stance. It's really not worth the damage, because at this stage of the game, we still have to conserve MP as best we can. So Leviathan's just going to start jumping up and down throughout the floor. If you're wondering where he's going to come up next, there'll be a little pool on the floor where he's coming up, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so we're just going to keep attacking here, doing our best to build stagger with Focus Thrust. We're going to use Focus Strike with Tifa, and then if he's standing still long enough, you could just put in a Tempest there with Aerith. When he's doing Aquatic Focus, you could literally just stand there. It's not a damaging ability, it's just a bit of a buff he gets, so don't worry about it at all. You do not have to run away from him. You can just sit there and start laying into him as much as you want. Alright, so the boss is going to come up, and when he comes out of these pools, sometimes he could do a bit of a dive, so you want to be blocking when he comes out, just like that. So we're going to switch over to Aerith, cast a Cure, and Cloud, who is at 2400 HP, is now going to be at 5000. So Cure, when you have the healing Carcinet, is very, very powerful. And as you can see, Aerith is still at 117 MP. We've barely put a dent in her MP pool, so she's going to be good to go for the next fight, which is Bahamut and Ifrit. So he's going to do a spinning dive here again, and he's always going to do this twice, so he's going to fly around and then turn around and then attack the person that you are controlling. Unfortunately, Cloud fell, so we're going to cast Raise with Tifa, and then once we do that, we want to build some ATB with Aerith, this way we can get a Cure off. So Leviathan's going to come back up. He's going to do a tail whip. Just make sure you're backed away from that as best you can be. You can also just block it. Alternatively, if you're using Cloud, you can go into Punisher mode or Counter Stance. It does count as a physical attack, so that'll work. So the boss is casting Tidal Wave here. However, we are going to be able to bring up his pressure meter here. This will effectively cancel the cast. Now, this isn't necessarily going to fully cancel the cast, because I'm not going to be able to stagger the boss here. And instead, once he's done being pressured, he's going to move and then start casting it again. So you want to still try to deal as much pressure damage as you can. You know, kind of expose him and just, you know, try to build that meter as much as possible. Unfortunately, I'm going to fall a little bit short, and I'm not going to be able to do it here on this second attempt. I'm not going to be able to pressure the boss at this stage. So, yeah, unfortunately, I don't get to show you what he looks like when he's fully staggered. But we are going to do our best to build it. He is going to get the Tidal Wave off, but it's not really that big of a deal, because after he casts Tidal Wave, he kind of leaves you alone for a few seconds and gives you a nice opportunity to just recoup your losses and bring everybody up. So we are going to assess him here, although I don't think it goes off. I'm not sure who I've assessed and who I haven't, and there's no assessment trophy or anything. It's really just for my own personal 100% completion. That's why I keep assessing. But we're going to raise Aerith, and then we're going to use her to heal up. I probably should have brought up Tifa, to be honest, but I chose to bring up Aerith just because I wanted to make sure I was able to get some heals. As you can see, Aerith is quite low, so we are going to raise Tifa as well. Okay, unfortunately, Aerith is going to drop. No bueno. Try to get the heal off at the same time. We're going to block Gyre Spume, but not going to be able to get away in time to actually activate the block. So we're going to try to build some ATB with Tifa. Admittedly, things were getting pretty dicey around here. I'm not actually sure why he tried to bite Cloud when Cloud was dead. But we are going to bring up Aerith, try to build up some ATB with the two of them, and then at least get a heal off. You want to block Briny Barrage. Unfortunately, I didn't really exemplify it the best there. Tifa is going to stagger the boss, so before we bring anybody up, what we're going to do is we're going to use Tifa's Limit Break while the boss is down, just so we can get as much damage out of this as possible. As you can see here, Tifa's level 2 Limit Break, if you haven't gotten this, you're really selling yourself short. Although, actually, you had to have gotten it in order to get here, but if you haven't activated it, that's what you're missing. So, after a while, when the boss gets to low health, he's going to come out of the center of the room, and then he's going to cast Tidal Roar. And this allows the boss to fly around and cast like tornadoes, or I actually forget what tornadoes are called in the water. Typhoons? No, not a typhoon. I took a weather class in college for air traffic control. I cannot remember what they're called when they're in the water. Anyway, so during this time, your only course of action really is to either use spells or ranged attacks. Now, unfortunately, some ranged attacks he's going to be immune to, depending on what magic you have equipped on that weapon. And I really didn't want to waste too much MP here, so probably the following 2 or 3 minutes are just going to be running around and getting people up, getting them ready for the next part of the fight. The boss really has no HP left, so I'm not really even worried about anything. We are going to summon in Bahamut a little bit later. This way he can just try to deal as much damage to the boss while he's flying around. You may be thinking to yourself, why not bring Barret here? And to me, Barret is weaker than Aerith in this game, especially with Ray of Judgment. You need to try to kill these bosses as quickly as possible and make sure that they are staggered as much as possible. And I really just feel that, yeah, despite Focus Shot building a decent amount of stagger, especially on 2 ATB charges, Ray of Judgment increases the amount of stagger damage that the boss is going to take. So I find that to be a bit more important, as well as the fact that Aerith, her weapons just have better casting. So she has, just stronger magic, latent magic abilities than Barret does. Although Barret is a very good tank. So there's a trade-off. I know people who have done this with Barret. I prefer Aerith over him, though. So we're going to bring out Bahamut, and then once we get everybody healed, we're going to just start dumping some ATB into Bahamut. And then, he's actually, I'm pretty sure he's going to kill him with Mega Flare once he's done. So, with Bahamut, he has 2 abilities. He has Umbral Strikes, and then I think Umbral Inferno is the other ability. Umbral Strikes is okay, although since the boss is moving, I don't think that the Umbral Strikes are as effective for some reason. It just didn't feel like they were doing enough damage. That's just my personal opinion. So eventually, Leviathan will come down to the surface to greet the mortals. And attacking him does seem attractive at this point, but you have to remember that he is still kind of kiting you into these tornadoes, and the tornadoes will always follow you. So as you can see there, I just took about 1,000 damage really quick, just because I walked near the boss and into a tornado like a dummy. I probably should have used Ascension there. I just was afraid of the... that's Umbral Strikes and Umbral Inferno, sorry. I'm not sure if that's what I said before. But I probably should have used Ascension there, if I'm being honest. I just felt that it may not hit all the way and the boss may fly away, so I didn't really want to waste it just in case I needed it for when the boss came back down. So, Bahamut's just going to keep doing his thing. We're going to try casting Umbral Inferno. It's going to do a little bit of damage, probably a few hundred. But as you can see, Bahamut's bar is running out. He's going to use Mega Flare, and then this should kill the boss. Alright, there you go. For some reason, it still shows him as sitting in the ground, even though he's up in the air. So Bahamut's going to go away, and then the boss is down. And now we have probably the hardest part of this fight, is the second to last boss, or the penultimate boss, which is Bahamut. Keep in mind that while fighting a summon, you cannot summon that summon yourself. So I cannot summon Bahamut during this fight. So just keep that in mind. If you're wondering why it's not working, that's why. So Claw Swipe you cannot kind of parry. You can't do that. It's not a physical attack. But the dive is, keep in mind that when he does one dive, he will likely do another, or he will follow it up with a barrage of strikes. So once he's done a dive, get ready for another one. Just stay blocking until you see him not doing anything. Bahamut will always, or generally always, attack the person you are controlling. He has one of the craziest kind of aggro systems in the game. He is so aggressive towards whoever you are controlling. So you got to be very, very careful that whoever you're controlling has a lot of HP. You just got to keep that in mind. Occasionally, he can grab one of your party members, and I got lucky here. But if he grabs them and has them for a long enough time, he will kind of shoot a fireball from his mouth into their face, and then that will deal a ton of damage. So while he's pressured here, which you can generally get while he's counting down from 5, like whenever he is kind of focusing his strength and counting, that's a good time to start laying in some pressure damage. Or yeah, just keep trying to lay into that. You can stagger him, although I'm not great at it, but if you have, kind of better tracking of what you're doing with your abilities than I do, yeah, it's a good way to stagger him. So the boss can cast Umbral Strikes, and what you need to do there is you have to block this attack. You'll see in a little bit that I don't block it with Tifa, and she winds up eating it and dying really quick. If you don't block the attack, it will deal about 4,000 damage, 2,000 damage for each strike. But if you block them, even though you get knocked back after the first one, if you're still holding block, you will still take the damage reduction. You'll just take the knockdown in full. So the boss is at 4 right here. What we're going to do is just try to build as much stagger damage as possible. Try to expose that pressure meter, and then once we do that, we can start laying into him some more. So there it is. There is the pressure meter. This basically means that the boss isn't going to attack while the pressure, or the pressured word is there, and he's just very susceptible to pressure damage. So just keep it locked on him, and just keep using all of your stagger abilities. Once the boss gets past 4, he will get an aura around him, and that will deal AoE ticking damage. As you can see there, Tifa just bit it for 4,000 damage real quick. So we're going to switch back over to Cloud, raise her, and then get a spell, or a cure spell off with Aerith, just to get her back up to full HP and to restore the party. So something to note about this aura is that if you're standing in it, you're taking ticking damage, but the AI-controlled characters will do one of two things. They will either stand in it and take ticking damage, or if they're low enough, they will stand outside of it and just block and not actually do anything. So during this part of the fight, it's very, very important that you continue to take control of each character, not just when their ATB is full, but you want to manually fill it yourself as well. And the reason for that is because it allows you to keep an eye on their HP a little bit better, as well as stand in the aura when they have enough HP to do so, and be effective. Otherwise, the AI is just kind of going to be a little not great at figuring out what to do. So you want to just keep control of each of the characters manually. Alright, so Umbral Frenzy is coming out. This is a series of swipes. If you'd like, you can go into Punisher mode with Cloud for that, and get some parries off. Otherwise, you're better off just blocking it, because even if you do try to parry some of the attacks, you're going to eat the others, and that's going to deal a ton of damage. Alright, so Cloud very quickly here has to raise Aerith. Luckily, Claw Swipe's just going to go right past him, so we are going to be able to get that heal off, or that raise off with Cloud. So he's going to do a dive bomb here, and what you got to do for this is just get as far away from everybody as possible, because it is an AoE attack, and you have to block it. I'm not exactly sure if you can get completely away from this attack. If you can, I have never done it, but I just try to get the character that I'm controlling and the character that Bahamut is targeting as far away from everybody else, and just have that one character soak it. So we're going to raise Tifa, get a heal off, and then we're not going to be able to expose the pressure meter here. But you can see now that the boss is past 3, the AoE aura has gotten bigger and will start dealing more damage. So you got to keep an even closer eye on your HP meter. Alright, so Claw Swipe manages to deal some damage to Aerith. Nothing too crazy, but Umbral Inferno manages to deal a ton to her. So we're going to use Aerith's Limit Break there, which is Planet's Protection. Once that is cast, everybody becomes immune to physical damage. So we're still taking damage inside of the ring, but we are not taking any of the swiping damage. So if we're lucky, the boss will continue to try to use physical attacks on us, and we're not going to take any damage from it. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes he will just keep casting Umbral Inferno, but sometimes you get lucky. You'll notice here that the boss is at 1, and we are going to use Tifa's Limit Break, but when the boss gets down to 1, he's going to summon Ifrit. So at this stage of the game, you want to just do your best to bring Bahamut down as quickly as possible. Use all limit breaks, use all huge spells, do what you gotta do, still conserve MP, but just deal as much damage to him as possible. When he starts to focus in and has a green glow around him, that means Ifrit is coming. It happens when he reaches 1. Now Ifrit, even though he looks scary, he's a pushover. You do not need to worry about this guy. Just keep focusing on Bahamut. You don't need to worry at all about Ifrit. He's not going to do too much damage. He's really just there to annoy you and interrupt you. Alright, so Cloud right there just ate the dive bomb, but it also activated Ascension, which is Cloud's level 2 limit break. And you're going to see Bahamut die in the background there, and it's all from Ascension. That's it. So he's going to get deleted here. Ifrit's going to try to do a drive-by. It's not really going to do much, but here we have Tifa dealing the last couple blows, and Bahamut's down. So at this stage, what you want to do is you want to go back to Aerith, put down an Arcane Ward, and then double cast Blizzara with Cloud. So just like we did with Shiva, you don't want to use the final version of the spell because it's kind of a waste of MP given the cost. And what we're really after here is staggering the boss. So put down the Arcane Ward, double cast Blizzara, and then just move over to Tifa. Keep using her stagger building abilities, and then once the boss is staggered, that's kind of it. You can move over to Aerith, go ahead and cast Ray of Judgment, but as you can see, the boss is literally getting deleted. Ifrit is almost as weak as the Tomberries and Bombs in the Fat Chocobo fight. He is a giant pushover. You don't need to worry about him. So Cloud's going to finish it off with a Braver, and then we are going to move on to the final boss. The last encounter here is with the Pride and Joy prototype, which looks a lot like Proud Claude from the original game, and I'm pretty sure it just is. So he has 2 ray guns on top, but he in the original he just had 1. So the boss will always start off with a beam cannon. The number one thing to do there is to just move with whoever he's targeting. It's usually your party leader because it's just an instant attack. Just move away from everybody else and have that person soak it up. It's going to deal a lot of damage, but if you can manage to get a mana wall off it, you'll take a lot less. So what we're doing here with Cloud is we are just building up ATB and then spamming triple slash on the legs. And the reason for this is because whenever you kill a leg, or deplete the HP of a leg, the boss falls and becomes pressured, so you can deal a lot more stagger damage to him. The boss does have a few abilities that can more or less one-shot you. So as you can see there, we dealt a lot of damage to some of the legs, and he fell down. So we are going to assess the boss now. Just make sure you get that out of the way in case you're trying to assess everybody. This is really your only opportunity to do it. Otherwise, you're going to do the whole 5 boss encounter again. So he's weak to lightning magic. We're really not going to worry about that. He doesn't move around a lot, so you have an opportunity to use a lot of Tempests with Aerith. Or he moves around very slowly, I should say. He can sort of use these exhaust vents on his legs to deal some AoE fire damage to anybody who's around him. He can use an ability called Catch, where he will swing his right arm and attempt to pin down or take hold of one of your characters, and this will give them the bound debuff so they can't actually be used. You see, he keeps using the exhaust valves on his legs. We're just going to keep spamming Star Shower with Tifa. Deal as much damage to both legs as possible. The right leg is basically dead at this point. So we are going to put a Tempest down, try to take care of the right leg. You'll notice that the boss is targeting Tifa right there. And when you notice the boss start kind of charging up, you want to get away, because he's going to do a bit of a blinding effect on the person that just staggers them. It's not going to kill them or anything, but then he's going to use a Brutal Tackle, which deals a lot of damage. After that, the person will wake up, if you're lucky, so it's not going to deal a ton of damage, but then he can follow it up with a Beam Cannon on somebody else. So hopefully, at this point, the person who is bound gets let go, but that is not the case for me, so I have to raise with Tifa. So we're going to raise Aerith, focus on the left leg. As you can see, the right leg is basically broken. This boss kind of does deteriorate after a little while. He's going to chuck Cloud down, instantly kill him with a 9999. It's actually the first time I've seen this in this game. But not a huge deal. We can just move over to Tifa, build up some ATB, and raise the boss, or raise Cloud rather. So we're going to cast Ray of Judgment with Aerith, build up some more ATB, and we're going to take advantage of this. This way we can just keep laying into the left leg there. But once the boss starts walking away, we're going to raise Cloud. Alright, so he's going to start casting rockets, which is kind of wild. It's not something you really expect. He kind of just comes out with a new attack every once in a while that can deal a ton of damage to you. So you got to be careful. And the rockets, of course, do leave a fire trail, which can be very deadly. If the boss uses Brute Force, he's going to fall down and do a huge AoE explosion, and that means that you just got to get far away from him. It is quite large. As you can see there, we just, in the nick of time, got a raise off. Had we not been able to get that cast out, I would have had to redo this entire thing. So you got to be very careful with these big one-shot abilities. You can avoid most of them with the exception of the Beam Cannon, at least that I have found. So yeah, if you notice that he's starting to charge up or something, just get away from him. I am going to use Ascension here just to bust down the leg. Alright there, it's going to fall. Boss is going to fall with it, and then we're going to deal a ton of damage and stagger him as well. So once he's staggered, we can start going into him with Tifa. We'll cast True Strike, just build up as much stagger percentage as we can. And then once Cloud is ready, we're going to actually assess him one more time, or bring up the assess menu using the touchpad. Because I wanted to see if I could cast Stop on him, but you can see in his resistances that he is immune to time magic. So don't even bother trying to cast Stop. Just do as much damage as you can, and then he will follow up his stagger with a Brute Force, so just get away, and then you can raise Aerith. Once Aerith is back up, you want to switch over to her, build up some ATB, get a Cure off, and then it's kind of time to just rinse and repeat. So this time he caught Tifa, which kind of stings because she could deal a ton of damage, but yeah, he squeezed her once, she died, he chucked her down, so now it's time to switch back over to Cloud, raise her again, and then we're going to get a Cure off with Aerith, and then we will use Tifa's Limit Break to more or less finish the boss off. I'm just going to deal a ton of damage to him. Luckily, because the boss is able to kind of one-shot you, it's a quick way to build up your limit breaks. So if he catches you, it's really not all doom and gloom. You can kind of just wait it out, and then hopefully the boss will deal enough damage to build up your limit break. Alright, so the boss is at about 5-10% HP. So we're going to cast an Infinity's End with Cloud. We're going to do it on one of the legs. Luckily, all the damage transfers over to the boss himself. Unfortunately, it missed there because the boss started moving towards Aerith for the first time in the entire fight. So, as you can see, the rockets are coming. Aerith is down to about 400 HP. We'll lay down a Cura. And again, with the healing Carcanet, it basically heals her back up to full, and heals everybody back up to full. So, that's it. Just keep slashing at the legs, and eventually it will fall. And that is how you complete the final VR challenge, 3-person team versus top secrets. Doing this will give you the trophy Ultimate Weapon, and you will also get an item called the Götterdämmerung, and this will allow you to enter every battle with a full limit break, and then after you use that limit break, the limit bar will build up over time. Unfortunately, you can only equip this on one person at a time, but it will make hard mode quite simple if you're just going for the completion there. But that's it. It's a really tough one. It takes a long time to get to, and it takes a long time to down. It's like a 30-minute fight, despite the timer right there saying 20 minutes. I don't get what timer that's using, but it ain't my timer. That's it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to help you out. If you're looking for more guides for Final Fantasy VII Remake, please subscribe to the channel so you get alerted when new guides go live. You can also join my new community Discord. The link for that is in the video description below. If you're interested in supporting the channel monetarily, please consider becoming a channel member by clicking the blue join button below this video. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and on Twitch. And as always, I'm SweetJohnnyCage. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
It's on now.